I'm Jackson Warfield. Welcome to Jackson Warfield's Game Room. That's right, you're literally in Jackson Warfield's Game Room right now, which, to be clear, is my unfinished basement. Doing a celebratory video today because we hit 100 subscribers. So that's honestly in the YouTube journey when you're just starting out. You don't already have somebody to advertise your channel heavily. It takes a bit to get there. So you see, I have a lot of games. The reason why we're in my unfinished basement, first, before I get into it, so my board game collection was originally not in a basement. And I have to say, I don't really recommend having your collection in an unfinished basement. It's tough to, dust piles up a little bit. I also got 2 cats that, their cat hair, you have to kind of vacuum pretty frequently. You got pink insulation up top. I gotta keep that out of the shot on camera. I wouldn't recommend it if you can avoid it, but I don't have any extra rooms in my house. It's a 3-bedroom house with 3 kids. I moved my collection down here. Well, actually, I started working from the basement when the pandemic started, and that's also when my second of 3 kids was born, so everything got moved down here. But made the most of it, I like to think. And that's so about 2017 is when I really started to build out my collection. You might be able to tell that from the games that I have. Because before that, I just had a couple shelves. I've been really into board games since probably about 2005, but my collection really took off in 2017. So that's what most of this is from. The vast majority of this is newer than that. So let's take a walk. I guess we'll start off over, I don't know where it makes most sense. So I'll start off over at this end here. So this is my sideways facing shelf. So let's first off, I have unplayed Frosthaven up here. That split that with a couple friends. Plan eventually to bust that out. And one of the other friends is the one that actually holds on to Gloomhaven, which we played a decent amount. We didn't finish Gloomhaven, at least not yet. I think it's always possible to finish it. So this shelf is mostly hobbying supplies, and in some cases we have some, well, I guess we have the Lord of the Rings card. All the Lord of the Rings games really live here. So if you look here, we got some, some dice, some basing material for miniatures. We got paintbrushes for painting up terrain stuff. That's not even really a board game collection thing. I'll kind of zoom in a little bit here. This is not good with the selfie stick. Yeah, so that's the hobbying shelf. Going down here, here's this spray paint shelf. I guess, yeah, extra paints. Most of these are actually got some fluorescent paints there. But down here, so if you can't tell from my videos, I'm a big Lord of the Rings fan. And all of my Lord of the Rings games, for the most part, are here. So we got War of the Ring with Battle of 5 Armies and the War of the Ring expansions. We got Lord of the Rings Risk Trilogy Edition, which actually, I haven't even opened this one yet. I just wanted to make sure that I had, this is almost a collector's item for me. I actually really like playing Risk as probably a high school, this was before I really discovered how much better board games can be than Risk, but if you play the right rules of Risk, it actually isn't terrible. It's a solid enough game. I think it gets a little bit more of a bad rap than it deserves. We got the Lord of the Rings Journeys in Middle-earth. I have not played this yet because my plan is, my wife, I like the Lord of the Rings card game, obviously, but my wife gets frustrated by the fact that there's no map with it. And I wanted to also, it's a Lord of the Rings thing. I allow myself to kind of complete my collection of Lord of the Rings games, even if the chances of playing them are lower. So that's what we have a little bit of going on here. The Lord of the Rings card game, Hunt for the Ring, and this is actually down here. This is the Lord of the Rings card game. This is how I store it in these, the shoebox style card boxes. And also in these Ultra Pro deck boxes is where actually the player cards are. These are all the scenarios. Down at the bottom, I still got Lord of the Rings Confrontation down there. I can't really get this. I'm gonna get hopefully we don't get a dead mouse in the shot here. This is an airbrush in that toolbox there. And Lord of the Rings Confrontation is a much better game than is deserving of being down almost on the floor there. See it right there? Then you have the storybook game, Lord of the Rings Trivial Pursuit. But yeah, that's the Lord of the Rings section of the collection here. Now moving over. So I don't have a ton of logic around which shelves things go on. Just the only logic is it has to fit. But starting up top, we got some games up here, some legacy games that I am, at this point, I'm still waiting to kind of crack these out. So Ticket Ride Legends of the West and Clank Acquisitions Incorporated, Clank Legacy. Very excited to get those games played. I haven't played a legacy game. When was the last legacy game I played? I think it was Pandemic Legacy Season 0 And that was, I'd say, probably about a year ago. Maybe it was before maybe 2 years ago. It's tough to decide when you're gonna say like the next 10 times you play a game are gonna be the same ones, but they're probably my favorite experiences in board games. So I'm definitely going to do that. Summoner Wars, I have a pretty good, fairly complete collection of first edition Summoner Wars here. I wish I had gotten the Super Master set when that went on Black Friday clearance way back in the day. Moving down here, so I got Scythe. I got the Scythe with all the expansions in this big box here. I've also tried to do the single player campaign with that. It's not bad. Twilight Imperium, I played this several times. This is another game I've sweat with the same people we split Frosthaven with. Oh, this one is the game to play when we want to kind of beat up on each other. We don't all live close enough anymore to get them all played, but I'm happy I have Twilight Imperium. It's in my top games of all time. It's the greatest single day, epic multiplayer experience I think you can have. Looking over here, of note, I try to avoid this. You see, this is viticulture with, I'm gonna bring the camera a little bit closer in case it's tough to see any of this. Again, the lighting isn't great in the basement. That's why I'm wearing a jacket too. It's a little cold. So we have Viticulture Essential Edition, and I was really keen to get Viticulture World so I could play cooperatively with my wife because she likes wine, but she didn't really like Viticulture that much. But we both like cooperative games, so it's so annoying when you can't get it quite into the same box. The board in Viticulture World, I think, is why you can't fit it in the original box, which is too bad. I think only 2 games here. Not counting the Lord of the Rings games. Only two games here was I unable to fit everything in the main box. And I guess in some cases, like in Lords of Hellas, like Lords of Hellas, you kind of can't quite get the game closed all the way. The other game is Merchant's Cove. I wasn't able to get everything in the main box for that. Moving down here, I have this shelf here. This actually is kind of a notable shelf. I'm kind of blocking the light. Let me try this angle. All right. There we go. So this is the classic Madigo games section here. We got Anish, Kemet, and Cyclades, all the first editions of the games. I think it's Cyclades. That's all I call it. Anne's End Legacy, which was so solid. See, like there's a little dust here. It's tough in the basement. Anne's End Legacy, I played. It was okay. I like the cooperative games worth more than just boss battles, to be honest. So I don't. For example, why you won't see Marvel Champions here. Moving over here, we got a little bit of a Euro shelf going on. We got the 2 Caverna games. I have, Agricola, all creatures big and small. I don't have a full copy or any full version of Agricola in my collection, which now that I say that sounds kind of ridiculous given how many other games I have. I do have the app, and I play the app a decent amount. I might need to address that at some point. I shouldn't do this though, because I'm just going to give myself an excuse to just go buy stuff. I will cull things out of the collection. I don't have a strict one in, one out policy. I don't know. My wife told people that I do, which I thought was surprising. If she thinks I do, so that's not a bad thing. All right, we have moving down a little bit more, we have kind of the Catan shelf, and all the expansions I have are kind of crammed into these 2 boxes. Catan Rivals 2, Terra Mystica, and Stone Age, so a little bit more of a Euro game shelf. Clash of Cultures is a game that I'm looking to potentially switch out for. I may want to just get the new edition of the game, and I may end up calling this one. We'll see. Baron Park, I actually say, is a very underrated game. I have that instead of any version of Patchwork, for example. I like that as far as polyomino games. I like Baron Park. And also, just of note, it doesn't get a lot of recognition, but Game of Thrones Oathbreaker is actually a solid. I think it's similar to the game Hail Hydra. It's a solid, like hidden roles mixed with a board game kind of a game. It's not a straight like social deduction game, like say the Resistance Avalon is, but it's not bad. It's good. More of we got some party games here. So Crosstalk is in here. This is against different versions of Pandemic, Living Next to Each Other, and Terraforming Mars. The card game, Ares Expedition. I also have, this is a bit of a weird shelf. I got I actually have all of them. So Galaxy Strucker is going to get moved because this is the Century shelf. So the way I developed this out, man, this dust, jeez. Century Spice Road I originally had, and then at a board game auction, I was able to get the Golem edition, all 3 of them. And then I got $2, I got a New World at a clearance like a month ago. So what am I going to do about that? I need more lighting there. So I figure I have to complete the collection. I just don't know which one I'm going to keep yet. We'll see. Down here, Legendary Encounters, 878 Vikings, the first edition of that. Excited to get that played. I have not played that one yet. Played a lot of the unlocked stuff. And here's what we have as far as, I think maybe 2 of these need to get played, but we played a lot more unlocks. Like to hand those back and forth. I prefer them to exit because they can be replayed. Over on this shelf here, you got Dune Imperium. Merchant's Cove, like I said, can't quite fit the other expansion in there. And you can see, in general, I keep the nicer games higher up. So I have... I guess it's not that bad down here. Axis and Allies, you gotta have some... Axis and Allies is another older game that, even if it's not like a modern design, I feel like if you're gonna have a complete collection, you kind of need it. You need to have some version of Axis and Allies to be able to bust out. This is another version of Risk I have too. Pyramid of King Queen, that's actually a really good kids game. You can play it with kids much younger than 8 too. My 4-year-old was able to do the admin on that when we tried that once. And Pitchcar is great. I really wish I discovered Pitchcar earlier because it's really tough to get the expansions now. This in the corner here, this is where maybe some of the games aren't as nice. I have trouble on my knees. Scattergories is the winner for this shelf here. Scattergories have some great memories with Scattergories, but that was another game that was one of my favorite party games, but kind of like pre-discovering board games, like the modern board gaming scene. Played a lot of Scattergories, probably in like the 2010 time frame. All right, moving on. So I've taken to kind of block off the gray cement wall that I have. I have a lot of expansion boxes kind of facing forward there. They're held together with binder clips. These expansions for Lord of the Rings, the card game. But now I have enough of a collection. That's actually just the sneak peek. All these Warhammer boxes are empty. That's just to kind of make it so you don't see a gray background here when you're looking at me on camera, because my work computer is right here too. Moving around, so on top here, I try to avoid stacking games on top, but we're looking at the Happy Salmon Fish and Bears versus Babies and Bananagrams. They're not real boxes, so I don't really mind having them sitting on top of other games. I have been waiting to bust out Heat Like a Fine Wine. Flame Rouge is one of my favorite games ever, and I know I'm going to enjoy this one. I really don't want to bust out a time when I can't really focus on it. I don't know. It's sometimes you'll have games that you just know you'll love, and ironically, you're then more hesitant to play them. I hope that makes sense to some people. So this shelf, this is bowing a little bit because of the weight here. Raiders of the North Sea, this is the larger box of Raiders of the North Sea. Both of the expansions for this one are great. I always liked Raiders more than Champions of Midgard, for a number of reasons. But it's a good worker placement game. I actually like the app for that too. Imperial 2030 is the game that I owe to helping discover how great modern board games can be and comparing to, say, Risk. I remember playing that game and trying to play it like Risk and being like, why am I losing? This is really interesting. And I didn't fully grasp how Imperial 2030, it looks like a dudes on a map war game, but it's really more of an economic game. One of those games that made me realize what modern board games can do. So we got the party game shelf here. Star Realms is about to get upgraded into the Star Realms. What's the Kickstarter called? I forgot. The Kickstarter that shipped like 2 months ago. I'll put the note on screen if I remember to do that. Cosmic Encounter. I love Cosmic Encounter. I have all the expansions here, and also same for second edition of Battle Lore. Pursuit of Happiness. I tried to use that as a life killer playing with my family. Wasn't super successful about that. Down here, these are a lot of the games that have been in my collection probably since they're like important ones to build out early in my collection. So classics like Blood Rage, Spirit Island. Moving down here, you have, let's kind of skip down to some of the key ones. Obviously Dominion is a key one to have. I got a Ticket to Ride shelf. Almost had an entire Days of Wonder shelf there. That's Charterstone. you didn't recognize it. These shelves are pretty nice. It's almost like they stick out compared to everything else because of how well the games fit in here. Really like Treasure Island in addition to Flame Rouge. Castles of Mad King Ludwig, I arguably prefer the app version. Down here, Formula D, I will never get rid of Formula D because my middle kid just is car obsessed. And he's gonna love that when he's a little bit older. He's only 4. I'm gonna hold on to that game. What else is down here that's worth mentioning? Escape Zombie City. I would kind of want Escape from the Cursed Temple more. That's what this game is. I don't even know what this is. You can read this. Let me get this. See, you can here. Get that out of there. Escape Zombie City is a timed cooperative game, but it's a little bit finicky because of the zombie standees. That's where I think the Cursed Temple might end up being what I want to keep long term. I might switch that out. And also I have Small World down here. I like the original version of Robo Rally better than the new one. What they changed with the new version of Robo Rally is they made it, instead of getting knocked out of the race, your robot can instead just get spam cards, which I appreciate the idea of not knocking people out of the game. But when you get enough spam cards, you might as well be. So I kind of wish they just moved with that. So I have a shelf on top of a shelf here. This is just more things fitting in. So this is that Merchant's Cove expansion that I talked about. Blitz Bowl is kind of just a Barnes & Noble introduction to Blood Bowl. I actually have some painted miniatures inside the boxes. Some of the only miniatures I don't have on display here. Yeah, this is, it's funny when you get these like bookshelves, these cube shelves, like the Target shelves and the IKEA shelves fit different size games. This is like a Target one, so it doesn't actually fit everything quite as well. But what's notable here, I have Seven Wonders Duel is one of my top games ever. Although, did I put it up here? Where did I put it? The Lord of the Rings. Oh no, I think that's still upstairs. So the Lord of the Rings Duel for Middle Earth, it may be supplanting this game on my top games of all time list. I played it once so far, and it nailed it in my opinion. That was the perfect design for incorporating, make it a little bit more interesting than Seven Wonders Duel. You get the Lord of the Rings theme in there. It was really good. Oh, there it is. It's right there. It's been sitting on top of it. It's literally above it. It's sitting above it. That's how it's supplanting it. All right, now some more party shelves. I try to hopefully get it so you can always see the party games or the small box games, so they're not stacking in front of each other. Got the King of Tokyo shelf. King of New York was one of those games where they tried to make it the more interesting version of King of Tokyo, and they ended up just accidentally making it, putting it in a weird spot where it's not. You're not going to bust it out as easily as King of Tokyo, but if you're going to do a more complex game, you're probably going to pick something else. It's kind of a weird choice there. Some other small games. What's worth mentioning? So Game of Phones that I have here. This was a gift. When I got Game of Phones, I was not super excited for it, but in retrospect, if someone buys you a game, even if it's kind of silly, I like to just play it because. Yeah, I don't know. That's the advice. If someone buys you a game and they want to play it, just play it. Anyway, Balderdash. This is my original copy of Balderdash. I've had this copy. This copy lived in my trunk in high school. Balderdash is my favorite party game of all time. The bluffing. I've never laughed so hard as I have when playing Balderdash. I'm never going to get rid of this copy of the game. I'll put in here Fun Employed. So I had this down here. A handful of times in a game, in game nights, I busted out a game and someone else that's at the game night has actually gone and something fell down. Bought the game. I have cats down here that might be doing stuff. Has actually bought the game or added it to a wish list. Fun Employed was one of those games where I played that at a work game night, and someone who's playing the game not only bought the game, but explained it to someone else at work the next day who then bought the game. I've only had that happen with a few games. I think I had that happen with Skull. Recently happened with Magic Maze, where one of my daughter's friends' brothers put it on his Christmas list. So it's like when that happens, that's one of the best moments in gaming is when you bust out a game and someone actually goes out and goes to get it. That's a sign that you did something right. I'm moving with my Gandalf gear here behind this. Here is Magic Maze. That was a recent event that was fairly successful. Suro is actually a great game to bust out in a lot of situations as like an appetizer game. It's an 8-player game, and it's done in just a few minutes. So I recommend having Suro if you don't have it. This is actually one of the games that I didn't buy. I actually was holding that for a friend, and he didn't want it back. He just said keep it. So yeah, happy to have it. Now, so down here is the smaller version. I got the Ticket to Ride. Amsterdam is my small version of Ticket to Ride. Undaunted North Africa is my choice for Undaunted. I got a couple of roll and rights there. Ganshan Clever and Welcome to. Also Downforce again. I got a 4-year-old loves car, so I'm not getting rid of that one. This is, like I said, just Warhammer box blockers. I've been into Warhammer since 2021, so I built out that collection a little bit. Let me stop blocking the light here. Up here, so this, HeroScape, I actually had most of HeroScape in 2 90-gallon bins. That's the original HeroScape. This is all just the new stuff I have in this game, and then this box over here, which you can't see. So this is, as they keep releasing new stuff, HeroScape is, that stuff's gonna outgrow that box pretty quickly. Zombicide Black Plague, so that's my preferred version of Zombicide, because I like the medieval theming, although I have played the original Zombicide. I played a decent amount of that. I wasn't a huge fan of Zombicide, but I prefer it. Again, it's a little bit, with the medieval theming, it's different enough from like the shopping mall zombie games. And this one actually was a Facebook Marketplace lot. I didn't actually need to go buy all this individually. It would have been a little bit ridiculous, so I did. Speaking of Facebook Marketplace lots, that's where also Heroes of Land, Air, and Sea and Tainted Grail came from. And these are both have been acquired within the last year. Kind of the game room has expanded out this way in the last 24 months, especially. I'll mention also here the Blood on the Clock Tower. I have played this a few times. I haven't gotten I used to, before the pandemic, get high school friends together once a year at my house for almost like a board game convention. I haven't done that since the pandemic, and when we do it again, this game is going to be the main course. Blood on the Clock Tower is my favorite social deduction game. It just takes a lot of effort to get going compared to the other ones. So, special occasion. This is going to be great. I have some other little bit games in here. Most of this is not board games. We have Snapship Tactics, Era Village, Empires of the North. These are all, well, Snapships. I was surprised that I was able to find this as early as I did, especially this was another Facebook Marketplace pickup. We have the Rallyman games, which are more games I'm playing. Whoop, I tilted a bit there. I'm playing. I like. To be fair, it's not just that my 4-year-old likes racing. I like racing. Like if you can't tell with this shelf here with some of the displays. And those games were on sale. I think they're going out of print. Rallyman Dirt, especially, was very acquirable, so I got that. This is actually not Scythe. This is collectible Pocket Pro football helmets in here, because Scythe is over in the legendary box you saw earlier. And I got some role-playing game materials here. This is actually just old Pandemic Legacy card stuff. There's not actually anything in here. I just kind of like to display the box. Everything else for Pandemic that I can play is part of the box set we saw at the beginning of my collection review. The Wargamer books are down at the bottom there. Some of those I got to put in old expansion boxes for games I'm not using anymore. Then over here we got this is the last real board game shelf. It's Forbidden Stars and some Time Stories games. Back through there, that's kind of on the other side of that wall, is like the warehouse, and you can't really see it, but I'll have sealed stuff that I haven't, like say for example Pokemon cards or board games that I have gift games. I'll poke around there in a second. First, let me just real quick show. So this is the staging area for my miniature painting, which is basically almost all Warhammer right now. If this seems like a lot to be assembled and not painted, it is. I don't recommend. Hold on, let me fix. Is that better lighting? Yeah. This will give some miniature painters a bit of a heart attack if they see this much unpainted stuff. And so this is actually a CD case shelf, and so that's why it's smaller shelves. But let's move on over here. So I have actually painted miniatures, and I have a glass cabinet here, so I get to actually display what I got. Miniatures since about 2021. So top shelf here, this is the Necrons. See all my cables in the background. I I thought I did a very good job cleaning the glass than it looks on the camera. Down here, these are Imperium units. Man, yeah, it kind of messes with the imagery. And in the front here, I got a knight, or an armiger. I haven't painted any full-on knights yet. I got a decent amount of AdMech in there, and then this is a mix of my, Thousand Sons and Xenomorph themed Tyranids, and then down at the bottom, which I have to adjust the selfie stick to get, I got some Sigmar miniatures, including Sylvaneth and what was that? Stormcast. When you're on camera, sometimes you forget words. I have some kids games that are in a separate location that's not really stored over here, but again, I built this collection up over time. Let me just take you over to the warehouse, I guess. So this is where I have some boxes that I'm probably not gonna end up opening. When I get a game that's like $2, my lighting's really bad over here. That I think I'll often buy it as a gift game. So you might recognize some games in here that often sometimes go on sale for a really cheap price. For example, Pandemic. Why can't I just make it a longer stick, dude? Pandemic Hot Zone, I think Miniature Market was selling those for like $2. And then also I end up with multiple copies of games to potentially sell used. That's all. You can't even see that. That's a new copy of Camel Up. Deciding which of these are going to be kids' gifts versus games that I just keep. So King of Tokyo Origins. Yeah, my daughter's 7, but she's able to play games too easily for like usually 11 and up games. She actually did really well with Castigadia. She beat my wife and I in that game. She was telling my wife how to make moves to stop me from scoring points. So some games just click with her. So we have I think a couple gamers, burgeoning gamers in the house. But that's the collection. Yeah, thanks for helping me get to 100 subscribers. I'm gonna keep going here. We're gonna go for, the next goal is 200, and then 300. Yeah, I'll stop talking. Remember to subscribe if you haven't already. Happy New Year and happy holidays to everybody.